income taxes, what is worrisome to me is that they are budgeted again for 11.73% growth, which I'm not sure if they'll be able to meet this year.
I don't think insurance-based schemes or policy actually works. What we need are hospitals that are easily accessible. We need universal health care.
But the other part that struck me about this budget is the focus on health. But did you notice that defense allocation was up 21%?
That is another point, very specific to this budget. Hi, so we are analyzing this year's budget with the businessline editor, Mr. Raghuvir Srinivasan. And I wanted him to start in the exceptionalism of this budget, in that the finance minister, what she refers to as the external environment, where you had trade obstructions, you have multilateral breakdown, you have supply lines getting disrupted, and within that there is a budget which addresses specific issues of specific times. So how do you look at it, Raghu?
I would look at it in two ways, rather the two things that the finance minister has attempted. One is to maintain the conservative fiscal policy that this government has now become known for. She has not deviated from that, which I think is very good in this kind of an external environment. The second is the kind of proposals that she's come up with to promote schemes where India is found wanting, and Indian industry has been in trouble in the last couple of years. One is on rare earth magnets, right? And the other is on semiconductors and electronic components, and where she has increased allocations. I should point out one thing here. What is a statement of intent and what is a proposal backed by numbers, by allocations? Now, if I take rare earth magnets, it's at this point only a statement of intent. There's no money being allocated for that. But if you take electronic components manufacturing, allocation has been doubled to 40,000 crores. So that's backed by intent. So she has tried to, I can see that on the one hand, keep the overall macro numbers healthy and stable, considering that we had a revenue shortfall last year, and the government was forced to cut down on expenditure to maintain its fiscal deficit at 4.4%, and next year is projected at 4.3%. So I think she's done what a conservative budget maker will do in these circumstances. But the more progressive ones are statements of intent, which I hope will be carried through with allocations, and at least they have started off this year.
Right. Raghu, I also wanted you to dwell a bit on the numbers, given that we will have outgoes on the Finance Commission this year. Our tax receipts have not been all that great. So are the numbers sort of believable? They're projecting a nominal growth rate of 10%. So I would like you to dwell a bit on the numbers. Also, given the changes that are forthcoming in the GDP series with the base year changing.
No, it's like this. As I said, the numbers are believable as always. They're conservative in terms of estimates. Last year, I did point out that the tax estimates look a little optimistic, and they have come true. The government's tax revenues are down about almost close to 6%, 5.7%, compared to last year's revenue estimates. But that said, I think this year again they have budgeted for, if you look at what they've accounted for corporate tax revenues, it's about 13.7% over last year's budgeted revenues. And they managed to do well in corporate tax revenues this year. They managed to do more than what was budgeted. But the problem point for me is income tax, personal taxes, where again they have stuck to more or less the same budgeted number as last year. In fact, about 2% higher than last year. Income taxes, what is worrisome to me is that they are budgeted again for 11.73% growth, which I'm not sure if they'll be able to meet this year. Last year, of course, was understandable. They fell short of growth numbers. They fell short of the budget targets because income tax rates were brought down last year. The slabs were readjusted. Exemptions, the slab structure was redone. So that's probably the reason why they couldn't meet the budgeted numbers last year. But to expect that this year they'll again grow by 12% is a bit of a stretch to me. But you never know. If they pull it off, then it's fine. Else, we could again look at slower revenue growth this year. What is interesting is that GDP growth rate is assumed at 10%, nominal rate. Now, the catch here is that this is based on the old series. The new series are going to come out in end of February. So these numbers, how they'll stack up against the new GDP series growth number is what needs to be watched. If growth is higher, then it's okay. But if the new series shows lower GDP growth, then these numbers could again come into question. So that is the thing. And tax buoyancy on this old series GDP nominal growth rate of 10% is assumed at about 1.1, which I think is par for the course. But as I said, we need to watch the new series numbers.
Right. So that's again a one outside element, one outlier, which we will not be able to project. The other very curious part of the budget, I thought, was this is a very politically sensitive government. They've always responded. Last year also, I remember all of us talking about her Madhubani Sari and a lot of allocations for Bihar and so on. But this year, surprisingly, not much has been...
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite surprising. There's nothing for the coal-bound states, if you ask me.
Yeah, well...
A small odd proposal here and there.
They have this cashew and coconut...
but that can be spoken about for other states as well, right?
Yeah, but nothing specifically either for Bengal, which the BJP has been eyeing very keenly. Nothing for Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Yeah. They've been very focused on these states. Prime Minister himself went. And so I personally, as a political observer of economic policy, I find it rather surprising. So either it reflects confidence that they'll probably do well without the schemes,
or they've given up,
or they've given up. Nothing much really for the poll-bound states.
But the other part that struck me about this budget is the focus on health. When they look at the biosimilars, what do they call that? They call it Biopharma Shakti. 10,000 crores over the next 5 years allocated to that. And elimination of customs duty on about 17 cancer drugs. Yeah. And I think health allocation itself is up about 6.5%. What do you think of that?
But not very different from last year. Mm-hmm. It was about there 6.3 or 6.1%.
But in terms of focus, that they are looking at non-communicable diseases becoming a major...
Raghu, the thing with health is, as a structural policy of the government with regard to health, we need to be in a poor country like ours, where out-of-pocket expenditure has increased, 200%, 300% by many calculations. The government has to, it cannot be, I don't think insurance-based schemes or policy actually works. What we need are hospitals that are easily accessible. We need universal healthcare. I mean, if you look at anywhere in the world, the best functioning healthcare systems are those that are publicly tax-funded systems, which sort of provide uniform universal access to this. And by that logic, if you look at our total spends in terms of GDP ratio, they've not increased.
And even this budget allocation going up by 6% year after year, which again is not good enough, but at least 6%. But even that 6% probably goes off into revenue expenditure. It's not in setting up new public health centers or hospitals in smaller towns. That's not how it goes. Probably that's all they have money for at this point in time. But did you notice that defense allocation was up 21%?
That is another point, very specific to this budget. I think it's unprecedented. I've not seen defense.
Actually, I was looking at the revised estimates of this year. They are much above the budget estimates of last year. I think Sindoor made them spend a lot more this year, and they maintained that allocation and gone over and above that this year, which I think is remarkable. You are talking about jobs in a different context. Now, this is going to create a lot of manufacturing, defense manufacturing, and much of it I think will be within India. Right. Drones, specialized equipment,
so even if
unmanned
they have
aerial
JVs,
vehicles.
the Atmanirbhar.
So that'll create jobs and more value addition within the country.
Right.
I think that's a good thing going forward.
Right. Again, since we're talking about health, I was looking at education again. The spends have increased about 8.26% this year. And that's one could say it's a lot, but my point is that there's a lot of focus on skilling, for instance, but there isn't much focus on teacher training at the high school level, at the higher education level. You are not building institutions of excellence. You have a huge that is the biggest area that India needs to focus on, right? Our demographic dividend is our biggest strength. So, a lot of people say only revenue expenditure, but I think it makes a lot of sense to pay the teachers well, to train them well, because this is our biggest strength. And
True.
Do you think the government is doing enough? They may be doing enough for skilling, but skilling alone is not...
Actually, Poornima, this is, to be fair, I would think this is as much a responsibility of the states as the center as well, right? They both have to work in coordination, go hand in hand in this. I think it's not, if you ask me, is it enough? Certainly not. Considering the state of education in several states and the crumbling infrastructure in terms of schools, even in developed states like Tamil Nadu, in some of the interior towns. So it is an issue, but I think we have to take it bite by bite. It's not going to be solved immediately. But that they're increasing allocation by 8%, 8.5%, because I think it's well over the inflation rate. So they're actually giving something positive.
Yeah. But I think more focus is on skilling rather than actual sort of...
Fair enough. That's a fair point.
Right.
That's a fair point.
But overall, what do you think? What do you think of this budget, specifically in the global context?
Well, see, budgets, I've said this before and I want to highlight this again. Budgets are at the end of the day just a statement of accounts. In India, they've been made out to be a big circus, media event, and we expect, everything in the budget. But if you look at it, to be fair, last year's budget onwards to what happened today, there have been more reforms outside of the budget than in the budget, right? GST reforms, then wage code being notified, and several other measures which were done in the last 6 months outside of the budget. And the last budget itself did deliver on reducing income taxes and that kind of stuff. So there's only so much you can do in a budget. This year, honestly, my expectation was very low for the budget this year, because there's nothing much to do. All the tax proposals have been done with corporate taxes have been brought down, income taxes have been brought down. What more can you do in terms of tax measures? Customs duties, again, are a play of FTAs and the global trade situation, right? GST has been brought down, and GST anyway is not part of the budget. So there's nothing much to do. So given that, I think she has tried to work a way around. If you notice, one interesting part this time is that normally budgets, the part A, will be filled with statements of intent on agriculture, waterways, irrigation, watershed development, Gram Sadak. None of that was there this year. It started off with infrastructure, it started off with biopharma. It was a complete departure from the earlier ones we have been used to over the last decades, not just last few years. So she has tried to turn the focus on to development of industry and human resources. As I said, a lot of it is still statement of intent. I'll watch it very closely to see how much money is put behind these intentions and how much of it is implemented over the next year or two. And for what she has put money behind, I think they are good ones, like biopharma is good, and electronics manufacturing is good. Dedicated freight corridor, again, it's a statement of intent, but we need that. So I would say given the expectations ahead of this budget about that there will be nothing much, I think it is fairly okay, but the markets may be disappointed.
Yeah. The markets have not reacted.
Securities transaction tax has been raised.
Exactly.
But I think that's not so much to raise revenues as to stop people from going and losing money. We've written stories ourselves about how people lost their money in futures and options trading.
Yeah.
They lost their entire savings and they're out on the streets, several of them. They've written to us. So I think it's to prevent those kind of situations that she's done this, which the markets, of course, didn't like, because it's going to affect investment, is going to affect speculation in the market by foreign institutional investors.
Yeah.
But I think that's par for the course. They're prepared to take that on the chin, the government. And there are some good proposals there, like buyback tax.
Buyback tax. I was going to come to that. Yeah.
Buyback tax being rationalized, it was long overdue.
Yeah.
So henceforth, going forward, you'll probably see only the genuine buybacks coming into the market, not ones where promoters want to, take their money out using the proposal as a tax shield.
Yeah. So overall, looking at the global situation and how supply lines are breaking down, how we are left stranded, when our rare earth supplies are. So there is a long-term vision that is reflected. Whether or not that's backed by allocations is a different thing.
Yeah,
right?
there is vision, but we all know what happens to vision. That is not
exactly
worked on.
You have to put your money where your mouth is.
We need to watch that space. But I would say there's been a fairly okay budget, decent budget in terms of vision, in terms of ideas, in terms of proposals. And the numbers, as I said, subject to the income tax number alone, I think they are fairly believable, subject, of course, to the new GDP series.
New GDP series, yeah, right. All right, Raghu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.